So we're going to take this chance to have a look back at the predictions that Kevin Nolan and Sam made at the very start of the season.
You can't be right all the time, can you?
You can imagine the hysteria at Forest, the Brian Clough days coming back, maybe.
Could Chelsea win it?
Yes, Chelsea could definitely win it.
So even if you've only got 5 points on Christmas Day, you think, as a supporter, we'll get out of this.
To just jiggle your bottom and your top if you want to. We'll leave the middle. So we're going to take this chance to have a look back at the predictions that Kevin Nolan and Sam made at the very start of the season. So, Sam, this was... Right.
No.
Chris,
Typical Sam.
You can't be right. You can't be right all the time, can you? I mean, it's hard to predict any season, anywhere anybody's going to finish, apart from the fact you'll get a few right, won't you? So,
yeah.
If we go the bottom to the top, I think that I'm doing that because that's my most favourable position.
Because you've got 2 right.
So we've got a couple right there. Of course, Leicester's still not out of it by a long way, but
Leicester hovering just above.
but
It's
Wolves.
so hard for the promoted teams when they get into the Premier League. You need someone like unpredictable, like Wolves, to drop in there to give you a chance of saving yourself.
Definitely.
I think Wolves is a detriment to the club being a selling club, rapid selling, when they did, I don't know, was it 40 odd million in sales or something? Might have been more than that.
Right.
I know three big players went out. In fact, more than that.
Yep.
Because Kilman went for 30, 40 million, did he, to West Ham? So, and then all the others went and Little came in. But sad to see he lost his way. But, where are we? Forest doing brilliantly. Not when they stayed up on the lowest points total ever last season. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And now they're in the top 4.
So with your bottom 3, are you sticking with that? Chris, are you sticking with that? Or what do you think of Sam's bottom 3?
I like to not make predictions. The reason why I'm popular with all football fans is I understand where they're coming from. So even if you've only got 5 points on Christmas Day or January the 1st, you think, as a supporter, we'll get out of this. We'll get out of it. So, no, I'm not sticking mine.
I've never ever known him sit on the fence before.
Well, he doesn't want us to do a video at the end of the season like this one that we're doing
well,
to you now, Sam.
After that, like, yeah,
Okay.
all right. So I just think that the likes of that points total, I've been in this position more than once, and the hardest thing you've got is nobody knows how hard it is to get out of it unless you've experienced yourself, particularly as a manager. So I think I said this before. I haven't been interviewed for any of these jobs, by the way, but if I'd got interviewed, my first question was, how much are you going to help me? I think I've said this before. And the only way I can get you out of trouble is how much you can help me and how much I can help you then by introducing some better players to the squad, and then me using my expertise and my experience to formulate a winning formula. And the winning formula is about winning. It's not about how you're playing again at the start. I'll tell you, as time goes on and you start winning, your play gets better and better and better. I mean, for instance, Sunderland, when we got out of trouble, we only lost 1 in the last 11. That's how much it took. And then we still only finished 5th from bottom. And Blackburn was the last weekend but one. We got out of trouble, Blackburn, when we were going down to play Chelsea. And I think that I didn't take over there till December. So it's hard. Palace was another one. You know, December taken over, took me 6 games to win the first game. And then at the end of the season, we beat Chelsea away, who won the league. We beat Liverpool away. We beat Arsenal at home. So all those big teams, if you survive, you're going to have to beat at some stage. So all these teams are going to have to beat a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a Chelsea. Well, it's not Man United at the minute, but
it's still Man City though, Sam. Don't forget.
City. Yeah, you're gonna have to
They'll
beat.
be all right.
Nat, you're gonna have to beat some of them to survive.
Yeah.
And then your focus is whenever you play a bottom 8 club, you've got to win.
Yeah.
Your bottom 8, home and away, is imperative if you do that, because what you're doing is you're either going 3 points farther away from them or gaining 3 points on them.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest advantage you can gain.
Yeah, which obviously we saw recently with Ipswich and Wolves being that huge win for Ipswich in the last minute at Wolves.
But we saw the players and a manager lose his cool at Wolves at the weekend, which I felt sorry for.
We really did,
Gary, because Gary was at West Ham when I was there, and I thought what he did for Bournemouth, and how harshly he got treated by just getting booted out after keeping
But
Bournemouth
I had
up.
some empathy with him, Sam.
Yeah.
Basically, when I was at Bradford and the manager, everything went nice and smooth, and the mindset is great, you know, and the player-manager contact is really good. And if you don't like it, you can go. And then I go to Stoke, and it's a different mindset. There's a club on their way down, and I don't handle it properly because I've not been in that circumstances before, and that's the difference. So you start doing things that are stupid and wrong, and you need someone. When I was at Bradford, Paul Jewell would tell me, "Don't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe you do this."
You need one of them.
Yeah.
You need somebody to stand up against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no point in having them otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I had Sammy Lee
Yeah.
and Brownie, to be fair. So, you know, they all say, "Ooh." I've always actually said to promoters, "Look, just don't be frightened of speaking up, because we're all in it together, like you mean. So, you know, whatever you think, put it on the table, and I'll make a decision, and we'll roll with it from."
Yeah.
And if I haven't taken up what you say, don't stop saying it, because somewhere along the line it will make a difference.
Well, we've seen obviously 2 of the clubs near the bottom managers go in recent weeks, so they might get a new manager bounce. We might see a turn, Sam. But let's look towards the top now. So when you and Kevin Nolan made these predictions in August, A was champions, so they went for Arsenal. B was Europe. Obviously, it's looking a bit different right now. Spurs and United way down the table. City currently in 5th. And we've had some lovely, lovely surprises. I suppose I'm not going to make you predict, Chris, but I'm sure, are you happy to see different teams up there? You know, we've got Forest, Brentford, Bournemouth, Fulham.
Absolutely. You know, you can imagine the hysteria at Forest. The Brian Clough days coming back, maybe, but we know it's a long season, a very long season. I'd be surprised if Man U don't finish in the top 6 this season. I would be very, very surprised at that. Chelsea will be there. Spurs will pick up again. Manchester City, that's the one that's really strange. I talked about my time as a manager when results didn't go well. Pep Guardiola, for the first time in his career, is having to face that, and that must be difficult for him. So
First time ever, Chris, and that's probably one of those things he has to sit and think about him changing what he would normally stick to, or perhaps stick to, because when you're in that position and you're dealing with players whose confidence has been shattered, and however tough you think or however good Man City's players you think are fragile mentally now.
Yeah.
You can see that against many of the teams they've played recently. One's gone against them, that's not too bad. Then two, then three.
Definitely.
Then there's a result. Oh, they've changed now, and then it's gone again. And I think the crushing blow was Man United's last 3 minutes, and that takes the complete, whatever they got left from a mental strength point of view is fractured now. And I think the biggest part of his job is to rekindle the mental resilience that Man City have always had, and what they've built over the years. Like you mean. And he will not be very, very happy. He'll be losing sleep more than he's ever lost sleep.
Absolutely.
And you have to search deeply for what the solution is, with your staff and with everybody that works behind the scenes with Pep, and say what you think.
His defence hardly ever run back towards their own goal, and Arne Slot showed in that game, and Man City Liverpool put the ball over the top of their defence.
Well, you can't do that, Cammy. You'll be a long ball merchant.
You
know what I mean?
But he did it.
You did it, yeah. You do what you play the space, Cammy. That Bobby Saxton has said many years when I got the Blackpool job, which was my first manager's job in the league here. Bobby Saxton, who you know, managed several clubs, great assistant manager, brilliant guy. And he went with Reedy at Sunderland when Reedy had all the success at Sunderland. And he said, it's simple, Sam, all this coaching badges and all that. He said, you play into space and you run into space. And I've said this before on my podcast. And he says, if the space is in front, you play it to the feet. If the space is in behind, you play it in behind, and the player has to run in behind. Now the player has to understand where the space is, because he can't wait for the player to play it in the space and then run. He's got to set off. He's got to set off and show the player on the ball that that's where he wants it, and that's where the space is. So when you've got this Man City eye line, I've been talking about it for quite a few years, like you mean, and I've spent time and time on the training ground and seen the fear in players playing into that space, for the fear that nobody runs in there,
and
the fear that they're going to get.
Their stats is you've given the ball away.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so they're fearsome. Yeah. So they'll pass it 5 yards and they get a tick, not giving the ball away.
They go sideways and backwards and side. So it's difficult even more difficult to convince a player now, because we've got the name of this podcast, haven't we? We've got all this tippy tappy, and it's cost Southampton manager's job, Martin. Definitely cost him his job. I think how many goals they've given away. How many defenders have passed the ball to the opposition? How many times has the goalie passed the ball to the opposition? Had the ball taken off them, and and sometimes they've been 1-0 up. I remember at Liverpool recently when they were playing at home and they were 1-0 up. Southampton playing really well, and then they just gift it straight back to Liverpool and score. And if you look at the points that they could have won, and Ipswich have a similar problem, because they've been for the bottom three, they've been 1-0 up more than anybody else in the league, or certainly in the bottom 10, and haven't gone on to win, and quite a lot of the time gone on to lose. So if he had just tweaked his formation and said, right, now we defend the lead and we'll play a counter-attack style. So we're going to make it so difficult for the opposition to break us down, because a lot of teams in the Premier League can't break 11 down in their own half. Yeah. They find it very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. There's only the top teams generally can break an 11 down that stand behind the ball in their own half, and a lot of the time that's a mistake by the opposition. So tweaking what you're doing, looking and asking the players to be flexible, like you mean, is always a great great thing to have in the armour
Yeah.
if you're changing the way you play.
Players, if you're down to 10 men when you're 1-0 up, 10 men are so hard to play against because they know the mindset is defending, not attacking anymore.
Yeah.
It's amazing that, isn't it?
Mhm.
If you go down to 10 men, you get huge amount of praise if you get a result out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you do it with 11 men, oh, you're negative, you're boring,
Yeah.
you know, the perception is so bad in the game about what really works and what really doesn't work.
That only applies if you lose. If you're negative and lose, they say, why didn't you go for it? Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell why you two get on so well.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
yes. It's music to his ears,
years,
this, Cammy.
In a few years, that's
Yes.
for sure.
Right, Sam, I'm not going to push Cammy, but I'm going to push you to just jiggle your bottom and your top if you want to. We'll leave the middle.
Love it.
You got me. You got me.
Right, go on.
Okay. Are you sticking with that bottom three, or do you want to change any of them?
No, I'm gonna change Leicester for Wolves.
Okay. We get
I
the
think
Wolves
Wolves,
one for you.
as a new man comes in,
Go.
and I think it's going to be very difficult for him. 9 points, 16 games gone.
Okay. I hope Ipswich or Southampton survive. I never like them coming up and going back down.
Well, it'll be the if Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton go down, it's the second time in 2 seasons on the trot that all 3 that got promoted get relegated, and that's not good for the Premier League.
Yeah. Right. What about the top?
Top.
Because obviously that's...
Oh, this is really tough this season. Like you mean, is it too much for Man City to recover? Probably.
It could happen, but it feels like it's...
Well, he's good at going 15 games without losing, 16
but
games without
we'd
losing.
need Liverpool to slip again, and I just...
Well, they started though, haven't they?
Yeah, true.
I mean,
true.
Chelsea are only 2 points off.
Yeah, Chelsea are only 2 points off. Yes,
I know that Liverpool have a game in hand on them,
they do. The Merseyside derby. So,
but you know,
right, go on. What are you thinking?
We've got to be. Could Chelsea win it?
Yes, Chelsea could definitely win it.
Yeah.
Do you think they could, Cammy? Or do you think it's too early?
If
Oh, he's
I
playing it
was
down.
a
He's playing it
betting
down a lot.
man, I think I'd have to go Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't like a bet ever, as you know. So.
As we know, yes. Okay, but if we pushed him, Liverpool, Sam, what do you think?
On the basis of how well he's handled it, yeah, I think you've got to go with Liverpool.
Right.
And I think that because it's gone this far, he's gone this far. He's obviously going to run into some difficulties, and we see how he would handle that. But he's been cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
Not only in front of the camera, but also on the dugout. Do you know what I find quite strange now? For me, there was only ever one place for a manager.
Yeah.
That's in the stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the times that when I left Bolton, because I used to be in the stand all the time, and I had to try it because rugby went it that way years ago.
Yeah.
Rugby had not just the coach in the stand, but he had his analysts who was covering live data and fatigue. But I got told at Newcastle and West Ham, you can't be there. They want to see the manager under the bat. And it's a real detriment to your judgment standing at the dugout, because whatever anybody tells me, if any manager tells me they work better at the dugout rather than in the stand, they're not telling the truth. Because you're calmer up there anyway.
Yeah.
You're not in the ferocious atmosphere of what's going on. You've got to make critical decisions for the team. And you're watching at leg level.
Yeah.
All you've seen is 22 pairs of socks rushing around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're up here communicating with your boys downstairs, and you're seeing a whole new game. And what managers are doing, they're sitting with the monitor on the dugout. Sit with the monitor like I used to in the stand.
Yeah.
But you've got to go with what the fans want.
Yeah.
The only manager I've
You know
seen
what I mean?
doing it is Gareth Taylor, who's the Manchester City women's manager, sits at the back of the stand every game with his assistant.
Yeah.
And it's the only one I've seen.
See the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I had Alan Durbin at Stoke, and I should have used him because I stood on the touchline. But I thought he was part of the old regime that didn't want me there. So I ended up not using his experience.
Well, you never know because you get a bit paranoid, don't you?
Yeah.
On who you can and who you can't trust, like you mean. So there's always a mole in a club. There's always a mole leaking back to the board, you know, especially...
Or the internet these days.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean... yeah, you know, so there's always something, somebody would be, when you take over a football club, there's always somebody that would be connected to some of the people higher up that would be talked to monitoring what you're doing.
Oh.
So you need to set a few traps sometimes to find out who they are.
Oh, you
Wagatha Christie.
Exactly what I was thinking, Chris. He's the original Wagatha Christie. Yeah.
You always set a few traps, like you mean. You say one controversial thing only to one person.
I see.
To nobody else.
It sounds like Colleen. It does. Yeah, I love that. Right, we digress.
Yes, we digress.
So,
sorry.
Liverpool, and then are you happy with? Is that still the top six, or could we see a surprise?
I'd like to think that that the Newcastles of this world would be farther up than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think unless there's a dramatic turnaround at Man United, this all-encompassing genius at Man United already, usual press hype. It's only been 5 games and they're going, oh, he's going to be brilliant, he's going to get him in the top 4, he's going to do this. You know, they've said this about so many managers at Man United and Tottenham.
Yeah.
And I mean, he came in last year and he started well in the first 11 games and went, oh, boy, this is going to be it. And now look where they are. What are they? 10th. You know what I mean? And they've had Antonio Conte and, they've had Jose Mourinho. So, I think,
move Spurs
I think
out,
Newcastle.
Newcastle
I want Newcastle to come back. I've always gone about this restriction of funds. I hope Newcastle have some funds this January.
So that's your top 6?
No, Man United are after that.
Okay. Oh, who are you thinking then? Forest, maybe?
Forest, yeah.
There's always one team that surprises you, and it could be Forest this year.
I think that would be universally supported. I think people would really like that.
Well, in the past, the best ever was Leicester winning the Premier League by 10 clear points.
Yeah.
But like the likes of Bolton and Burnley, finishing Europe.
Yeah.
Finishing 6 in Europe, get to Europe. You know what I mean? So it's been done before. So you want a Fulham maybe, or a Forest particularly at the moment, or a Brentford.
Right. I'll tell you what we'll do, Sam. We'll revisit this again at the end of the season.
Will Aston Villa come good and get better? Because they found it difficult because of the Champions League, but the top of the Champions League aren't
they? They're so good in the Champions League.
You know what I mean? So is that a priority for them?
Well, they're going to miss out. They're going to skip this horrible playoff stage. So it's as it stands. Right, okay.
So it's interesting, isn't it?
So Sam's jiggled his top and his bottom. And this is where we're at. We will revisit this again at the end of the season.